She says I have to have a little look around first. See where I'm going. There we go. We'll let you get settled in, Faith, and let her walk around a bit. Have a look at everybody around. This kind of gives you a good idea, though, for a horse that's never been in this ring and not at this particular venue. You know, she wants to take everything in stride, and Faith is just gently guiding her around, letting her have a look. It's more curious and a little bit, you know, she's not so much reactive, like we say. They just take everything in. They want to see everything around them. But she trusts Faith, and that's what we go with. They put incredible trust in their handlers, and they've been handled from a very early age, from the time they're weanlings, really. But they've had so much handling by the time they're qualifying to race, just under 2 years old, really, just around the 2-year-old mark. They've had a lot of experience with things, so they adapt pretty easily. There we go. Now she's starting to feel a little more relaxed. So really today we want to highlight just the character of the breed. How willing they are, how trusting they are. They're very smart animals as well. They learn very quickly. Yeah, just do what you want to do there, Faith. There's no pressure. We just want her to be relaxed, because that's the main thing. No matter what, whenever you're working with a horse that's a little anxious, it's better to just to let them walk and stay calm and relaxed. If you stay calm and relaxed, they're more apt to stay calm and relaxed. But like I said, with the Standardbred, they generally trust their rider so much, they're not going to do anything really silly. I think we can all say, if you've had a Standardbred, we trust them just as much as they trust us. There we go. It's a big change when they transition from the track to be a pleasure riding or even a competitive riding or driving horse. You know, this is a whole new experience for them. They've not had to work in a small area like this. I mean, fortunately, Faith has an arena at home, but it's much bigger than this. And again, she's in a new environment, but she's taking everything in. She's trying, and that's the main thing. You just want to see some try, and that she, you know, you can get her kind of relaxed. Standardbreds have such a versatile nature. You can see from her build. They can, and there's a real variety of sizes. Anything really from 14 to up to 18 hands. And they can be finer bone, but most of them have quite a good substance of bone that, you know, sets them apart a little bit from their thoroughbred cousins. They're a little heavier built. They're pretty sturdy horses. A lot of people use them in the mountains or as trail horses. And it's quite common to see them in endurance or competitive trail events because they have a lot of endurance and they're very hardy horses. A common cross is an Arab Standardbred cross for those types of competitions. And although all the horses in the West are bred to pace, that they race on the pace, which is a 2-beat lateral gait, the front and hind leg on the same side move in the same direction, as opposed to the trot, which is a 2-beat diagonal gait. But all pacers generally will trot when they don't have the hopples on, and that is the sort of straps around their, and loops around their legs that help them to stay in the pace. When they get nervous or uptight, sometimes they'll revert back into a pace because that's something that they've, been trained heavily in. It's a very specialized sport, harness racing. They are the fastest horse in the harness. They can go, over 30 kilometers an hour. It's quite exhilarating to watch them on the track. All 4 feet flying through the air. Looks like they're floating. But anyway, they do naturally trot. There have also been a number of really good Standardbred jumpers. If you're familiar with the South Francais breed, they're warm blood. They come from trotting blood. And there are, 2 distinct kind of lines of Standardbreds, the trotters and the pacers. Like I said, we only have the pacing races out west here, and that's at the Century Downs in Balzac here track, and Century Mile up near Edmonton. There's also the Macomb track. So if you ever want to go and witness and have a day of excitement, go and watch the horses when they're racing. And you'll appreciate just how much, how good of an athlete they are. Whether it's racing or whatever sport you've chosen them to be and train them in. They're quite athletic. And they have such a good mind. They're so personable. This is what makes, if you read anything about Standardbreds or people that have Standardbreds, that's probably one of the most common things to hear, is just how willing and how personable they are. They try so hard to please you. Like I said, it doesn't matter what the discipline is. That's just their nature. They have a lot of great qualities for a broad range of riders or drivers. You'll see we have a driving horse coming up at the end, and they're pretty commonly used for competitive driving because, like I say, they have endurance, they have a lot of heart, and they're quite adaptable to different styles of driving. But again, it takes some retraining to get them to use their body differently because they have been developed to do the pacing gait, so they're using different muscles than we would be when we're riding or doing carriage driving and expecting more of a rounded frame with the back more supported, the core a little stronger. But they do have, very strong hindquarters, but we want them to be able to engage their hindquarters underneath and push off, as opposed to when they're pacing. So Faith, is there anything you want to tell us about Beauty that makes her sort of stand apart? Talk again, Faith. We couldn't hear you.
She really loves people because she gets handled so much at the track. She's really well suited for the EAL programs that way. And she's really chill, so even beginners are good to handle her.
And you have other Standardbreds. What do you do with them?
They're all really good for the EAL as well. I'm just retraining them for flat work right now. I'm working on getting a couple booked for riding as well.
So the sort of head tossing you see, you can, that's more, a little bit of anxiety. Yeah. So she's trying, but she's kind of telling us that she's a little bothered by being in here. but she's still listening to Faith, which is really nice. I mean, you can see this is, you know, an anxious Standardbred. It's not so bad. She's still moving forward. She's not offering, you know, any resistance to moving forward. Anyway, I was talking about Standardbreds, different disciplines as well. And like I say, there's been a number of really good jumpers. They're very, like I say, they're kind of built to do a lot of different jobs. We also have one of our members actively competes in Alberta in endurance and competitive trail and has done really well with 3 different Standardbreds that they've owned, and he's still currently campaigning one, the youngest to come up through the ranks. And like I say, Standardbreds have had a lot of exposure to things, but this is, you know, I mean, this is why she's being not so bad, because in her heart of hearts, she knows that, you know, she's not in trouble. She's still taking things in, but she's, yeah, it's not like a real green horse coming into this ring. She has had a lot of experience through her years. Even if it hasn't been lately, she's probably not been off the farm for a while. So, you know, you gotta give her that. But she's certainly trying to be a good girl. That's it. It's good to keep them busy when they're a little anxious. Getting them to do things that, you know, have to make them think a little bit on their feet. There we go. So she's starting to chew a little bit and probably relax that jaw a little more. You're doing a great job, Faith. I believe we have her breeder in, Dewey. Were you her breeder? As a racehorse? Hang on. You can tell your story.
We had bought her as a 2-year-old. She just had raced once and wasn't fantastic, and so we thought we'd give her another year. We gave her some time off and brought her back. And as she started training down, we just noticed that she probably wasn't going to make it as a racehorse for her breathing. So we asked the vet, with the breathing issue, could she still make a good riding horse? And I used to give my horses time off at Faith and Carla's place, and they'd fallen in love with her already. And when she had a breathing issue, I asked, would she still be okay as a riding horse? And the vet said yes. So I talked to Faith, and I said, you can talk to the vet if you want and see about the breathing issue, and they were okay with it. So then they kind of took her on. But yeah, so now they also have another one of mine that I retired to them. That goes to the prison for, they both go to the prison out in Bowden to do EAL. So I found wonderful homes for them, which I got lucky. So.
Thank you, yes. We found them a wonderful home with Faith and her mom, Carla. Is there anything else you would like to tell us about Faith? Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Faith? No? Well, continue on, or if you know, it's up to you what you want to do.
I think that's good for today.
Okay. Well, thanks, Faith, and thanks for bringing her in here and giving her that experience as well.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. She's a lovely girl. And now next in is one of our former placement horses.